influencer sa Mexico binaril habang nagla-livestream.
May malalim namang dahilan sa likod ng pangyayari. Ang detalye po ng balitang ito ating aalamin maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Huwebes.
Pilipinas at Germany nagkasundo sa isang defense cooperation pact.
Mid-year bonus makukuha na ng mga kawani ng gobyerno ngayong araw.
White House kinumpirma na hindi dadalo si US President Donald Trump sa peace talks sa Istanbul.
Chemical plant sa Seville, Spain nilamon ng apoy.
At tabalang Alex Agila at Coco Gauff nabigo sa quarterfinals ng Italian Open. Kapwa nagkasundo po ang Pilipinas at Germany sa isang defense cooperation pact. Ayon po yan mismo sa Department of National Defense.
Nilagdaan ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. at German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius ang isang deal na naglalayong palawakin pa ang kooperasyon ng dalawang bansa sa aspeto ng cybersecurity, logistics, defense, armaments at UN peacekeeping. Ayon sa National Defense Department, ang bagong Defense Pact ay dagdag sa umiiral na 1974 Agreement ng Manila at Berlin para sa pagsasanay ng Armed Forces of the Philippines personnel sa Germany. Mula rito, inaasahan ng dalawang defense ministers na magkakaroon ng ikatlong iterasyon ang Philippines-Germany Security and Defense Staff Talks para ihanay ang mga proyekto ng dalawang bansa na isasagawa sa susunod na taon. Dumalo rin si Teodoro sa UN Peacekeeping Ministerial Meeting sa Berlin para muling pagtibayin ang suporta ng Pilipinas sa pandaigdigang kapayapaan. Kasabay na rin ang kampanya ng Pilipinas para sa isang non-permanent seat sa UN Security Council.
Ipamamahagi naman po ngayong May 15 na mid-year bonus ng mga kawani ng gobyerno. Ayon sa Department of Budget and Management, kwalipikadong makatatanggap ng nasabing bonus ang mga civilian and military personnel basta ang mga ito ay nagtrabaho sa kabuuang 4 na buwan mula July 1, 2025 hanggang May 15, 2025. Kinakailangan ding nakatanggap ang mga ito ng satisfactory performance rating at nasa serbisyo sa gobyerno as of May 15. Naglaan ang gobyerno ng 63.695 billion pesos na pondo para sa mid-year bonus ng mga empleyado.
Pinaalalahanan ng Commission on Elections o COMELEC ang lahat ng mga kandidato sa isinagawang eleksyon na mag-file ng kanilang Statement of Contributions and Expenditures o SOSE bago mag-June 12. Ayon sa poll body, personal dapat na magsumite ang mga kandidato sa opisina kung saan sila nag-file ng kanilang Certificate of Candidacy. Hindi naman tatanggapin ng COMELEC ang mga submissions ng SOSE via email o kaya mail dahil kailangan pang i-verify kung original true copy ba ang dokumento. Samantala, kapag failure to comply ang isang kandidato ay magre-resulta ito sa pagbabayad ng multa, disqualification from assuming office para sa mga nanalo o kaya permanent disqualification para makatakbo sa mga susunod pang halalan. The people of Davao have spoken. They want their mayor back. Ito ang tahasang sinabi ni Attorney Nicholas Kaufman, lead counsel ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, patungkol sa pagkapanalo ni Duterte bilang mayor ng Davao City. Ang resultaan niya ng eleksyon ay nagpapakita ng isang malinaw na mandato mula sa mga botante na humihiling ng pagbabalik ni Duterte sa Pilipinas. Nanindigan din si Kaufman na ang nag-uumapaw Natagumpay ni Duterte isang malinaw na pagtanggi sa mga umano'y pagsisikap ng Administrasyong Marcos na burahin ang legasiya ng dating Pangulo. Sinabi rin ng isang political analyst na ang desisyon umano ng Administrasyong Marcos na suportahan ang paglipat kay Duterte sa International Criminal Court o ICC ay walang maayos na political narrative na nagresulta sa public backlash. Ang kinalabasan niya ay isang konsolidasyon ng suporta para kay Duterte. Hindi lamang sa Davao kundi pati na rin sa iba pang mga pangunahing lungsod sa Pilipinas.
Tiniyak ni Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero na tuloy ang kanilang trabaho sa Senado sa kabila ng impeachment trial laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Targetaan niya ng Senado na ipasa ang mga panukalang batas kagaya po ng rationalization of the mining fiscal regime, right-sizing bill, Judiciary Fiscal Dependence Bill, Right-of-Way Bill at Anti-Pogo Bill. Sinabi rin ni Escudero na walang magiging epekto sa impeachment trial ni VP Sara ang bagong komposisyon ng Senado sa 20th Congress. Kahit may mga solidong taga-suporta ang bisa sa Senado, hindi naman anya nasusunod ang anumang party stand at nagpapasya ang bawat senador batay umano sa kanilang prinsipyo at interpretasyon sa mga ebidensya.
Historically, hindi. Dahil nakita nyo naman siguro sa social media na nagbago-bago ng posisyon yung mga in-endorse dati, kinakalaban na nila ngayon yung mga nag-endorse sa kanila dati, yung kalaban nila dati, kakampi na nila ngayon. So, kung pagbabasihan ko ay kasaysayan, hindi ng mga partikular na senador, kasaysayan sa larangan ng politika ng ating bansa. Nakikita natin nagbabago-bago yon. Hindi ko sinasabing hindi iiral, pero again, each to each his own. Nagbabago yan sa kada sitwasyon at sa kada tao. At hindi para sa akin na sabihin ganito yan o ganyan yan. Mas maganda sila ang tanungin ninyo.
Nang tanungin si Escudero ukol sa pag-usad ng impeachment trial, sinabi nitong layunin ng Senado na tuparin ang constitutional nitong tungkulin, maliban kung may ibang legal na utos.
Yon ang gagawin ng Senado kung hindi sang-ayon doon ang kampo ni VP Sara. Halimbawa, may karapatan silang iakyat yan sa Korte Suprema. In fact, may pending case pa sila doon na hindi pa ina-actionan ng Korte Suprema. Pero hindi lang yon, hindi naman din nag-issue ng temporary restraining order o mandamos ang Korte Suprema para kami magpatuloy o hindi magpatuloy. So, gagawin ng Senado yung kanyang constitutional mandate kung wala namang utos o kautusan mula sa Korte Suprema na laban dito.
Handa na ang Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP na tumulong sa investigasyon ng mga quarrying activities sa mga coastal area ng Pilipinas na nagagamit umano sa reclamation efforts sa West Philippine Sea. Tiniyak ng AFP na makikipagtulungan ito sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno katulad ng DENR, Philippine Coast Guard at NBI para matukoy ang mga individual o grupo na sangkot sa quarrying activities. Nasa mandato nila ng AFP na protektahan ang integridad ng pambansang teritoryo ng Pilipinas at hadlangan ang anumang aksyon na maaaring magdulot ng banta sa soberanya, kapaligiran at seguridad ng bansa.
Inilabas na po ng National Board of Canvassers or NBOC ang National Certificate of Canvass bilang patunay na natapos na ang bilangan ng boto para sa mga senatoriables at maging sa party lists. Ang National Certificate of Canvass ay naglalaman ng kabuuang boto ng mga nanalong mga senador at party list sa natapos na May 12 midterm polls. Ayon sa COMELEC, anila, hindi pa maituturing na full and official count ang nilalaman ng National Certificate of Canvass dahil alinsunod sa proseso, i-audit pa ito para maisapinal. Base sa bilang na nilalaman ng National Certificate of Canvass, nangunguna si Bongo sa bilang na 27,121,073. Bam Aquino sa 20,971,899. Ronald Bato de la Rosa sa 20,773,946. Erwin Tulfo sa 17,118,881. Francis Kiko Pangilinan na 15,343,229. Rodante Marcoleta, 15,250,723. Ping Lacson, 15,106,111. Tito Soto, 14,832,996. Pia Cayetano, 14,573,430. Camille Villar, 13,651,274. Lito Lapid, 13,394,102. At Amy Marcos, 13,339,227. Makikita naman po sa inyong screens ang naging partial official count ng NBOC para sa mga party list. Planong alisin ng Department of Agriculture ang maximum suggested retail price sa karneng baboy na kanilang ipinatupad dahil po sa konti lamang ang mga sumusunod dito. Ayon sa Agriculture Department, kanilang nire-repaso ang pagpapatupad dito para marami mga tindero pa ang kanilang mahikayat na sumunod. Noong March 10 nang ipinatupad ang maximum SRP sa karneng baboy sa mga palengke kung saan humigit kumulang nasa 30% lamang ang tumugon dito. Sa bisa po ng MSRP, maaaring ibenta ang liempo sa presyo na 380 pesos kada kilo. Samantala, 350 pesos kada kilo naman sa kasim at pigi sa mga wet market sa Metro Manila po yan. Naunawaan naman ng gobyerno ang sitwasyon ng mga tindero ng baboy dahil sa mababang supply sa gitna ng nagpapatuloy na banta ng African swine fever at ng mataas na demand nitong mga nakalipas na araw.
Susunod, mga pamilya ng nasawi sa Jeju airplane crash nagsampa ng kaso.
US President Donald Trump atrasabante sa Russia-Ukraine peace talks sa Istanbul.
At Russian President Vladimir Putin inisnab ang hamon ni Zelensky para sa personal meeting sa Turkiye. Ang iba pang mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Scorching hot, and we're blasting that away as we celebrate Net25's 25th anniversary. Experience the heat of the season at Net25 Summer Blast 2025. Celebrate 25 years of excellence with electrifying performances and a showcase of local MSME talents.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Trask Construction.
Nagsampa ng kasong kriminal ang pamilya ng mga biktima ng plane crash sa South Korea laban sa mga taong responsable sa pinakamalaking insidente ng isang airplane malfunction sa bansa. Nakapangalan dito ang Chief Executive Officer ng Jeju Air, Transport Minister at mahigit 10 iba pang individual na sangkot sa insidente. Giit ng mga pamilya ng biktima ay may malaking kapabayaan kung kaya't nangyari ang trahedya. Nasa 72 kaanak ng mga biktima ang nananawagan ng mas malalimang investigasyon sa nangyari sa eroplano na ikinasawi ng 179 na mga nakasakay sa bumagsak na eroplano. Git nila hindi isang aksidente lamang ang trahedya, kundi isang major disaster na dulot ng kapalpakan ng management. Nabatid na halos 5 buwan na, ngunit patuloy pa rin sa pag-iimbestiga ng mga otoridad sa sanhi ng plane crash sa Muan International Airport. Dati nang nagsagawa ang pulisya ng criminal investigation bago pa man ang pinakahuling reklamo ng mga kaanak ng biktima. Sa ngayon, pinagbawalang makaalis ng bansa si Jeju Air CEO Kim Abe kahit wala pang hatol sa kanyang kaso.
저희 제주항공은 빠른 사고 수습과 탑승자 가족 지원을 위해 모든 노력을 다하겠습니다. 아울러 정부와 함께 사고 원인 규명에도 최선을 다하겠습니다. 정비 프로그램에 따라 가지고 지속적으로 정비를 하고 있는 거고요. 이 항공기에 이상이 있었던 징후는 전혀 없었습니다. 오늘 휴일인데도
저희도 이제 하고 저희 수습을 해야 돼서.
Kinumpirma po ng White House na hindi nadadalo si US President Donald Trump sa Russia-Ukraine ceasefire talks na magaganap sa Istanbul. Ito ay matapos magbitiw siya ng komento ukol sa posibilidad ng kanyang pagdalo sa naturang dialogo. Leo Velasco para sa detalye.
Sinabi ni US President Donald Trump na may posibilidad na sumama siya sa pag-uusap ni Russian President Vladimir Putin at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Binigyan din ni Trump na mahalagang nasabing pagpupulong dahil kailangan anya na maligtas ang libo-libong buhay. Kumpiyansa rin siya na magkakaroon ng magandang resulta ang magiging pag-uusap ni Putin at Zelensky.
But I think you're going to have maybe a good meeting. You have the potential for a good meeting, that a meeting wasn't going to take place. I insisted that that meeting take place. And it is taking place. And I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings. But I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen. But we got to get it done. We got to save 5,000 lives a week. 5,000 lives is really more than that. It's worse than that.
Gayunman ay hindi niya alam kung pupunta si Putin sa Turkey. Pero sinabi ni Trump na may posibilidad na matapos ng digmaan sa pagitan ng Kiev at Moscow.
I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. We could end the war. I'd be thinking about that. Not tomorrow, we'll book that. You understand that? Said.
But you go, if you
We're going to go to UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very cool situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, yeah, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco's going. And Marco's been very effective.
Pinangako noon ni Trump na tutuldukan niya ang digmaan ng Russia at Ukraine dahil hindi niya gusto na maraming taong namamatay araw-araw. Isa rin sa mga objective ng Washington leader ay ang pigilan ang mga susunod na kaguluhan at tiyakin na kaya ng Europa na depensahan ng sarili nitong seguridad. Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Kinumpirma ng Kremlin na walang intensyon si Russian President Vladimir Putin na makipagpulong kay Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sa Istanbul.
Да, есть эти изменения в российской позиции. Эти изменения отражены в изменениях на земле. Вы хотите понять взаимосвязь между переговорным процессом и территориями? Я напомню вам цитату министра иностранных дел Российской Федерации от 28 сентября 2024 года. Сергей Лавров тогда выступал на пресс-конференции на полях Генеральной Ассамблеи ООН в Нью-Йорке и сказал: в апреле 2022 года в Стамбуле была достигнута договоренность между российскими и украинскими переговорщиками. Если бы она, отметил министр иностранных дел России Сергей Лавров, была выполнена, Украина все равно сохранила бы часть Донбасса. Но с каждым разом, добавил Сергей Викторович Лавров, когда срывается договоренность, на которую всегда идет Россия, Украина становится меньше. Мне кажется, вот эту цитату было бы правильно сейчас помнить всем тем, кто ищет взаимосвязь между переговорным процессом и размером территории.
Ipinagtanggol ng Kremlin ang kanilang posisyon kung saan sinabi nitong ang sitwasyon sa Istanbul peace talks at ang estado ng kapayapaan nila sa Ukraine ay nakabase sa sitwasyon sa frontline ng gyera. Ang formal na pagtanggi ni Russian President Vladimir Putin ay senyales din na tatanggihan nito ang 30-day comprehensive ceasefire proposal na isinusulong ni Zelensky at ng kanyang mga kaalyado. Pagkatapos nito, inilabas na ng Kremlin ang opisyal na delegasyon na pangungunahan ng presidential aide na si Vladimir Medinsky. Tinuligsa naman ni Zelensky ang naturang delegasyon kung saan sinabi niyang nagsisilbing palumuti lamang ang pinadalang team ng Russia sa Istanbul.
Рівень русських поки що мені офіційно невідомий, але із того, що ми бачимо, більше схоже на бутафорський рівень. Ми подумаємо, що будемо робити, які будуть наші кроки після розмови з президентом Ердоганом. Я думаю, у нас буде кілька годин для важливої розмови, дуже важливих рішень. Ми повинні розуміти, що за рівень російської делегації, який у них мандат, чи спроможні вони хоч щось самі приймати. Тому що нам всім відомо, хто в Росії приймає рішення.
Sa ngayon ay nakaantabay si Ukrainian President Zelensky sa Ankara upang makipagpulong kay Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at sinabi niyang magtutungo lamang siya ng Istanbul kung maiisip ni Vladimir Putin na magpakita.
I'm here. I think this is very clear message.
Dumating na po sa Turkey si U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio para mamagitan sa pag-uusap ng Russia at ng Ukraine. Bago ang nasabing pagsulong ng ceasefire deal ay mayroon itong gagawing informal meeting sa mga North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO foreign ministers. Magugunitang isinusulong ng US ang usapang pangkapayapaan para matapos na ang mahigit na 3 taong giyera sa pagitan ng Ukraine at ng Russia. Nakatakda rin itong magsagawa ng pulong kay Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani. Una nang sinabi ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky na magtutungo lamang ito sa Turkey kung may katiyakan na dadalo din si Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Я очікую, хто прибуде від Росії, тоді буду визначати, які кроки варто робити Україні. Сигнали від них у медіа поки непереконливі. Але ми чуємо також, що президент Трамп розглядає можливість бути в Туреччині. Тож це може стати найбільш сильним аргументом. Тиждень дійсно може змінити багато, але може. Зараз все це вирішується. Фактично, зараз найбільш очевидно для всіх у світі, за весь час повномасштабної війни очевидно, що єдиною перепоною для встановлення миру є відсутність чіткої волі Росії це зробити. Відповіді на всі питання про цю війну. Чому вона почалась? Чому вона триває? Всі ці відповіді в Москві. Як війна закінчиться, залежить від світу. Україна готова до будь-яких форматів перемовин, і ми не боїмося зустрічі. Завтра в Туреччині. Сьогодні була дуже важлива заява папи Римського Лева XIV про готовність Ватикану до посередницької роботи. Ватикан може допомогти дипломатії. Є підтримка прямої зустрічі від лідерів країн глобального півдня. І цей голос звучить.
Naging matagumpay ang ginawang pagbisita ni US President Donald Trump sa Doha, Qatar.
You're also working with us very closely with respect to negotiating a deal with Iran, which is the far friendlier course that you would see. I mean, we have 2 courses. There's only 2 courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly, and the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front, I don't want that, but they have to get moving. I hope the Iranian leaders understand that what you're doing, and really what you're doing for them is a big favor. You're Prime Minister, and you're a great leader, right here on my left has been helping so much, and they respect them and they're listening to them, but they have to get moving, and we both understand that. Position long ago.
Paglapag pa lamang ng kanyang Air Force One ay isang red carpet welcome ang bumungad sa kanya. Sinalubong siya ni Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani kung saan nagkaroon sila ng bilateral meeting. Sa ginawang pulong ay inanunsyo ni Trump ang $96 billion na kasunduan kung saan bibili ang Qatar ng mga 210 Boeing jet na gawa sa US.
This has been a very interesting couple of hours. We discussed the world. We discussed Russia and Ukraine, where you've been a tremendous help in so many different ways. We certainly discussed Iran, where it's been really an interesting situation. I have a feeling it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out.
Of course, I think after signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit. Thank you very much, sir.
Una rito ay bumisita si Trump sa Saudi Arabia kung saan ilang bilyong dolyar na investment ang kanyang nakuha. Ipinagmalaki rin ni Trump na siya lamang ang naging pangulo na nagdala ng ilang bilyon na mga investment sa US.
From Boeing, that's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And that's 140, was that a 140 or 160? Well, yeah, but you're right, it's actually 200, including the 40, so it's over $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets, that's fantastic. So that's a record, Kelly, and congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there. We always had a very special relationship.
Sa Florida, USA, isang banner na nakakabit sa isang eroplano ang nagsasabing, "Welcome to Qatar, Alagao." Pinalipad ito ng paikot-ikot sa ibabaw ng dating Mar-a-Lago estate ni US President Donald Trump sa Palm Beach. Alamin po natin ang report mula kay Terilyn Cunanan.
Noong Miyerkules, sa isang pakana na pinondohan ng Democratic National Committee o DNC, tinasabing ang Qatar Alagao banner na pinalipad-lipad sa ere ng Mar-a-Lago Estate ay referensya sa mga report na plano ng Qatari government na magregalo ng $400 million na Boeing 747-8 luxury jet sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Dahil dito, maraming nagtatanong ukol sa relasyon ni Trump sa gitnang silangan at kung ano ang dating ng ganitong regalo sa kanyang pagkapangulo. Ayon sa DNC, ang banner ay bahagi ng aksyon upang bigyang diin ang sinasabi nitong korupsyon ng administrasyon at kagustuhang ibenta ang mga pamilya ng Amerika sa pinakamataas na magtuturing. Inakusahan ni DNC Chair Ken Martin si Trump ng paggamit ng posisyon para sa personal na pakinabang, katapatan ng bank account at kaibigang mga bilyonaryo kesa sa konstitusyon o seguridad ng bansa. Samantala, nagbigay naman ng kanilang mga opinyon ang Trump supporters. Ayon kay John Parker ng Connecticut, kailangan tigilan ng Democrats ang ganitong mga pakulo.
I really think that the Democrats need to stop pulling stunts like this and being with Mr. Trump, President Trump, because he knows what he's doing, and Trump is trying to repair the relations that the Biden administration destroyed. And we need to be at peace with the Middle East, and Iran needs to stop doing what they're doing.
Para naman sa mag-asawang Elizabeth at John Manawaya, hindi nila maunawaan ang layunin ng mga bumabatikos kay Trump.
I think that there's always a thing of controversy and whether it's good or bad, but I don't quite understand why people don't see it as a good thing and why they would. Now they're trying to link Trump with the Middle East and that he's siding with them for some reason, or it's going to be a detriment to the United States. I just don't understand that thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the people are trying to prove with the plane. If they're trying to make it a negative statement and that somehow Trump is selling this out to them, well, then I don't think they understand the basics of diplomacy. If they're trying, on the other hand, to say that we now have a link and that there's a legitimate relationship between Mar-a-Lago and Qatar, well, then that's a good thing. I don't know what their motives are, but I guess my point is that conversations, as I said before, and relationships, real relationships, is essential to diplomacy, and I can't imagine why anybody would second-guess that.
Alan Punanan para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Dumating na sa Saudi Arabia si Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara para makapulong si Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at US President Donald Trump.
وإنني اليوم لا أحتفل برفع العقوبات عن سوريا فحسب، ففرحتنا تكمن في الأخوة الصادقة وعودة المشاعر الجياشة بين شعوب المنطقة وملوكها وأمرائها ورؤسائها. وقد استجاب الرئيس ترامب مشكورا لهذا الحب، فكان قرار رفع العقوبات قرارا تاريخيا شجاعا أزال به معاناة الشعب وساعد على نهضته وأرسى أسس الاستقرار في المنطقة.
Ang naturang foreign trip ni al-Shara ay naganap matapos magpasya ni Donald Trump na tanggalin ng Estados Unidos ang kanilang mga sanctions sa Syria upang mabigyan ito ng oportunidad na makabangong muli.
We are currently exploring normalizing relations with Syria's new government, as you know, beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara and Secretary Rubio's meeting with the Syrian foreign minister in Turkey after discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey. I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful. And I spoke to Mohammed, and I spoke to our friend from Turkey, who we just spoke to also by phone now, but felt very strongly that this would give them a chance. It's not going to be easy anyway, so it gives them a good, strong chance. And it was my honor to do so. So we will be dropping all of the sanctions on Syria, which I think really is going to be a good thing. And we made a speech last night, and that was the thing that got the biggest applause from the room. We had a very crowded room with thousands of people, and the statement that got the biggest applause was dropping the sanctions on Syria.
Paglapag ng kanyang eroplano sa King Khalid International Airport sa Riyadh ay sinalubong siya ni Deputy Governor of the Riyadh Region Prince Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Abdulaziz. Isa sa mga tinalakay ay ang kahandaan ng Saudi Arabia para sa pagbangon ng Syria at mga oportunidad para sa foreign investments upang matulungan ang Damascus. Handa ring makipagtulungan ng Syrian President para mapalakas ang enerhiya, teknolohiya, edukasyon at kalusugan.
أؤكد أن سوريا تلتزم بتعزيز المناخ الاستثماري وتطوير التشريعات الاقتصادية وتقديم التسهيلات الكفيلة بتمكين رأس المال الوطني والأجنبي من الإسهام الفاعل في إعادة الإعمار والتنمية الشاملة. ونرحب بجميع المستثمرين من أبناء الوطن في الداخل والخارج ومن الأشقاء العرب والأتراك والأصدقاء حول العالم، وندعوهم للاستفادة من الفرص المتاحة في مختلف القطاعات.
Naniniwala ang isang kinatuwa ng Estados Unidos na mas may tsansa ng matiyak ang pagpapalaya sa mga natitirang bihag ng Hamas sa Gaza. Ito po ay matapos silang pakawalan si Israeli-American hostage Edan Alexander kahapon. Jeff Sanidad po para sa balitang yan.
Nagsalita si United States Special Envoy for Hostage Response Adam Boiler sa Tel Aviv kung saan kasama nito si Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff na humarap sa mga pamilya ng hostages. Tumagal ng halos 2 oras ang pag-uusap ng mga ito bago bumiyahe ang dalawa papuntang Doha, Qatar upang sumama sa mga pag-uusap ukol sa tigil putukan sa Gaza. Ayon kay Boiler, tapat si Pangulong Donald Trump sa mga pangako nito. Kabilang rito ang paghahanap ng paraan upang mapakawalan na ang lahat ng natitira pang bihag, buhay man o patay na.
The U.S. is committed to all Americans and all Israelis here, so we're doing our job. I don't think about it not as Israel, what they don't do, I think about it what we do, and there was a lot of back and forth together.
Are you guys committed to release all the other hostages? It's been so long already.
The president has said all the hostages. One thing you'll find with this president is that he sticks with his promise.
At ngayong napalaya na ng Hamas si Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander, sinabi rin ni Boiler na mas may pag-asa na ang iba pang bihag na pakawalan na rin ng militanteng grupo.
Chance now to see a big deal for the release of all remaining 58 hostages and the end of the war.
I think there's a better chance now than before.
Is there a timetable for that?
I mean, I think Hamas knows that they could hold a deal any day that they want. They need to approach Trump. They need to approach Rikki, and they need to set this up the right way.
Ilang beses nang nabigo ang paulit-ulit na pag-uusap ukol sa ceasefire dahil sa kapwa pagtanggi ng Hamas at Israel na isuko ang kani-kanilang mga kondisyon. Bilang kondisyon ng kapayapaan, nais ng Israel ng pagpapalaya ng 58 bihag ng Hamas, pagbababang armas ng grupo at pagkalas ng kakayahang militar at pamumuno nito. Samantala, nais naman ng Hamas ang buong paglisan ng puwersang Israel mula sa Gaza at ang pagpapalaya sa mga bilanggo at detainees na nasa mga kulungan ng Israel. Ayon sa Hostages Families Forum, tila mas nais ni Witkoff ang isang diplomatikong resolusyon at naniniwala itong may tunay na pagkakataon para sa pagsulong sa pag-uusap sa Doha.
We have just come out with the meeting with Special Envoy Witkoff and Adam Bowler, and they have both expressed very explicitly their commitment to the hostage crisis and that they will follow this crisis until it's resolved, and they've expressed extreme empathy both for the brothers and the fathers and the children of all of the hostage families, and it's very evident that this is a topic that is in their hearts and souls, and they were very explicit about the fact that President Trump is fully committed to this. Lastly, we were encouraged to hear that now that they're going to Doha alongside with the Israeli delegation, and they're optimistic, and we've left with some optimism to hear that they have a plan that they hope to implement in the near future.
Jeff Sanidad para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, Mexican influencer pinagbabaril sa gitna ng kanyang live stream.
Texas dumaranas ngayon ng napakainit na temperatura.
At Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, binuhat ang Timberwolves patungong conference finals. Marami po tayong balita sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International.
Na naman ang weekend, kaya bagong episode na ulit sa Corina Interviews. Excited na ba kayo? Espesyal ang kwentuhan natin ngayon dahil bisita natin ang personal kong kaibigan na kilala nyo rin, Pat P. Dasa. Ano sa palagay ninyo, mapupuno ba ng tawanan o iyakan? Ang kwentuhan namin, grabe kasi ang mga hugot, no? Pumunta raw ng Amerika to mend her broken heart. Ano naman ang sikreto para sa mga nangangarap ding makapasok sa media? At paano siya bilang isang single mom? Yan at marami pang iba. Dito lang with Pat P. Dasa sa Corina Interviews, 6 p.m. sa Net25.
Sa Net25.
Ang mga maiinit na balita
at rumaratsyad ng usapan ng bayan.
ihahatid namin sa 100%!
100% ang pagbabalita.
100% talakayan.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga.
Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila.
At sa Net 25.
100%!
Sa Net 25, let's net together. Sa Net 25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Patay ang isang influencer sa Mexico matapos itong pagbabarilin sa gitna ng kanyang live streaming activity. Kinilala ang biktima bilang si Valeria Marquez. Ayon po sa mga otoridad, pagkamatay ni Marquez ay maiuugnay sa lumalalang gender-based violence sa bansa. Paliwanag ng Jalisco State Prosecutor's Office, ang kaso ni Marquez ay maituturing na femicide. Sa investigasyon ng pulisya, binaril si Marquez sa beauty salon na kanyang pinagtatrabahuhan sa siyudad ng Sarupan. Isang lalaking biglang pumasok sa salon ang suspect sa pagpatay sa influencer. Nalaman din ng mga pulis na matagal nang nakatatanggap si Marquez ng kahina-hinalang mga mensahe mula sa isa sa mga viewers nito na maituturing na matagal nang banta sa buhay ng influencer. Ang Mexico po kasama ang Paraguay, Uruguay at Bolivia ay mga bansang may mataas sa kaso ng femicide sa Latin America at Caribbean ayon sa pinakahuling datos ng United Nations Economic Commission Report.
21 katao ang nasawi sa isang vehicular accident sa Mexico noong Miyerkules. Ayon sa isang opisyal na ganapang trahedya sa isang highway na nagdurugtong sa mga estado ng Oaxaca at Puebla. Narito ang karagdagang detalye mula kay Bernhard Gonzaga.
Ayon sa mga ulat, isang head-on collision ang pumatay sa 21 katao nang sinubukang mag-overtake ng isang truck na semento sa isa pang sasakyan, subalit sumalpok ito sa bus at sa isa pang van. Nahulog ang truck sa isang bangin at bigla na lamang nagliyab. Sa isang social media post, sinabi ni Puebla Interior Minister Samuel Aguilar na 3 sasakyan ang sangkot sa aksidente at ilang mga tao pang nasaktan. Ang trahedya ay isa lamang sa mga naganap na aksidente sa mga lugar sa Mexico kung saan pulupot at matarik ang mga daan. Noong Marso may 11 katao ang namatay nang tumaob naman ang isang pampasaherong bus na sinasakyan ng mga ito sa Huaca. Noong 2023 may 29 ang nasawi nang mahulog ang isang bus sa bangin. Bernhard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nag-issue po ng Region Health Alert ang lokal na pamahalaan ng Civil matapos ang sumiklab na apoy sa isang chemical plant. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, 2 individual ang nasaktan sa insidente, kabilang na po rito ang isang plant worker na nagtamo ng light burns at bumbero na nahirapan namang huminga dahil sa smoke inhalation. Nabalot naman ng makapal na usok ang planta habang patuloy na inaapula ang sunog sa gusali. Higit 25,000 na mga residente naman ang nakatanggap ng warning messages mula sa fire officials upang paalalahanan ng mga ito na magsuot ng face mask at isara ang bintana ng kanilang mga bahay. Inaalam pa rin ng mga otoridad ang sanhi ng chemical explosion.
Nakaligtas ang 2 traffic workers sa Guangdong at China matapos mabagsakan sila ng malaking drilling rig. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nagdulot ng matinding traffic ang drilling rig matapos itong bumagsak sa kalagitnaan ng intersection. Kinumpirma naman ng Zhuhai Emergency Management Bureau na walang nasaktang mga tao sa insidente. Hindi rin nakapagtala ng pinsala sa mga sasakyan ng ahensya. Nagsagawa ng malalim na investigasyon ng mga otoridad para alamin ang sanhi ng pagbagsak ng nasabing drilling rig.
Pasintabi naman po muna dahil isang nakahihilakbot na pangyayari ang aming ibabalita. Dahil patay ang isang sanggol sa Thailand matapos itong kainin ng gutom na bayawak. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nakita ng mga residente sa isang housing area sa Samut, Prakan na may kagat-kagat ang bayawak sa damuhan. Subalit, nang kanilang nilapitan ito ay napagtanto nila katawan na pala ito ng isang sanggol. Kaagad na humingi na sa klolo ang mga ito sa paramedics at maging sa animal catchers dahil hindi na nila alam kung ano ang susunod na gagawin. Sinubukan naman ng isa sa mga rescue volunteers na hulihin ang hayop pero bigi po ito. Na-recover naman ng mga ito ang bangkay na sanggol, subalit pira-piraso na ang katawan ng sanggol. Batay sa resulta ng autopsy report, pinaniniwala ang 2-day-old lamang ang sanggol bago ito kainin ng buhay ng bayawak. Kasalukuyang pinaghahanap ng pulisya ang irresponsableng magulang ng sanggol para kasuhan ng mga ito. Sa ilalim po ng Thai law, maaaring makulong ng hanggang 3 taon ang isang individual dahil sa abandonment of child.
Sa Texas, USA, ilang lugar ang halos matusta ngayon dahil sa napakatinding heat wave. Ito pa, grabe na ang init na hindi pa opisyal na nagsisimula ang summer sa bansa. Alamin natin ang balita mula kay Mayfanway Zaragoza.
Noong Miyerkules, isang heatwave ang tila ginagawang hurno o oven ng ilang bahagi ng Texas. Umabot sa makasaysayang taas ang temperatura sa lugar. Bandang alas 4 ng hapon, local time, umabot ang temperatura ng Austin sa 99 degrees Fahrenheit o 37.2 Celsius. Ayon sa National Weather Service Austin San Antonio, Texas office, ang dating daily record para sa 14 ng Mayo noong 2023 ay nasa 96 Fahrenheit o 35.5 Celsius. Ayon naman kay Earth and Planetary Sciences Professor Dev Niyogi ng University of Texas at Austin, ang kakaibang taas ng temperatura ay dahil sa magkahalong high-pressure heat dome na bumabalot sa rehiyon, isang tagtuyot na nagpainit sa lupa at sa hangin mula sa timog.
We are seeing some extremely hot temperatures and these are possibly going to be record-breaking because we have not had a 105 or 100 plus this early into the season for a while. But it's likely happening because we have a number of factors going in. There is a low-pressure system east of us, a low-pressure system west of us. So we have this beautiful high-pressure dome which is giving us brilliant blue skies, but it is also a way that all the radiation, the heat is coming our way, and we have a ground surface which is dry because of the drought, and it is already heating up quite a bit. And then we have the winds coming from south, which is like having a heater turned towards you when you actually want something cooler your way. And so this combination of no clouds, a combination of really dry landscape, and the winds coming from south are making into a baking oven for this area.
Sa Barton Springs, isang recreational pool sa Austin, ayon kay 45-year-old software developer Mark Verville na katatapos lang tumakbo ng 6 na milya, hindi siya handa sa ganitong tindi ng init.
It is super hot. Yeah, it's a little early for it. You know, we usually get these temperatures in June, July, and August, not in May, beginning of May even. It's a lot.
Para naman kay 18-year-old high school senior Dulce Woods na bumibisita sa Barton Springs kasama ng kanyang mga kaibigan, masamang senyales ang maagang pagtaas ng temperatura ngayong taon.
That means it's going to be a hard year. I'm just ready to get out of Texas. The heat is not for me. Somewhere to lay down and cool.
Tinukoy naman ni marine biologist Kyla Lucero na malamang na dahilan ng kakaibang init na nararanasan ngayon sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa.
I think climate change is something that definitely affects it. We're seeing trends and the science is backing it up, so people need to see the effects that are currently happening to us finally after all this time, and they can see what is able to help the planet and see what they can do to help this so it doesn't keep happening over and over again.
Ipinasailalim ng National Weather Service ang karamihan sa South Central Region sa extreme heat warning hanggang Miyerkules ng gabi. Mayfanway Zaragoza para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nahaharap po ngayon sa patong-patong na kaso ang social media app na TikTok dahil sa paglabag nito sa online content rules. Pinagbumulta ng tech regulators ang ByteDance, ang parent company ng TikTok, dahil sa paglabag nito sa Digital Services Act. Inoobliga ng Digital Services Act ang mga kumpanya na maglabas ng abiso at datos na nagbibigay kaalaman sa mga researchers at users ng app na malaman kung ano ang mga scam advertisements na lumalabas sa platform nito. Dagdag dito ay inatasan ng DSA ang mga kumpanyang maging mas mapagmasid at mahigpit pagdating sa iligal at delikadong content, pati na rin ang pagbibigay ng impormasyon ukol sa potensyal na problemang maidudulot nito. Dahil dito ay pinagbumulta ng European Union ng higit kumulang 6% ng taunang kita ng ByteDance mula sa EU. Pinwersa naman ni defending champion na Boston Celtics ang Game 6 sa serye nito kontra New York Knicks sa kabila ng hindi paglalaro ng star player na si Jason Tatum. Buwan ng all-around performance ang 2024 Finals MVP na si Jaylen Brown na kumamada ng 26 points, 11 assists at 8 rebounds habang 34 points naman ang ipinoste ng small forward na si Derek White. Sa pagkatalo ng New York, nasayang ang 22 points ng guard na si Jalen Brunson and 24 points si Josh Hart. Wala ring Knicks player na nakagawa ng double-double performance, hindi tulad ng Game 5. Naiwan sa 36% ang overall shooting na nagawa ng Knicks habang impresibong 33% naman ang pinakita ng defending champion kasama ang 22 three-pointers na naipasok. Samantala, babalik na sa home court ng Knicks ang do or die na Game 6. Kung magkakaroon po ng Game 7, babalik muli ito sa court ng Celtics.
Samantala, sa ikalawang sunod na season, balik conference finals muli ang Minnesota Timberwolves. Nakakuha si Julius Randle ng 29 points mula sa 13 of 18 shooting para tulungan ang Timberwolves sa 121-110 na panalo laban sa Golden State Warriors sa Game 5 ng Western Conference Semifinals. Nagbaba naman ng 22 points, 12 assists si Anthony Edwards para tapusin ng Minnesota ang series 4-1. Para sa Golden State Warriors, nagsumite ng 17 points, 6 rebounds at 6 assists at 3 steals si Jimmy Butler habang nagtala naman ng 10-6 and 6 si Draymond Green. Hihintayin ng Wolves ang winner ng Denver-Oklahoma City series. Kapag tinalo ng Nuggets ang Thunder, mapupuwersa ang Game 7.
Nabigo naman ang women's doubles sa pagitan ni Pinay tennis star Alex Agila at Coco Gauff ng US sa quarterfinals ng Italian Open. Tinalo po sila ng defending champions na sina Sara Errani at Jasmine Paolini ng Italy sa score ng 7-5, 3-6, 10-7. Sa unang set ay hawak ni Ayala at Gauff ang kalamangan hanggang tuluyan silang talunin ng Italian tennis players. Ito ang unang pagkakataong nagsama sina Ayala at Gauff sa doubles. Magugunitang nagpadala lamang ng mensahe si Ayala kay Gauff kung saan nagbabakasakali na kung maaari ay makasama nito sa doubles at laking tuwa niya nang hindi nga siya binigo nito. Ipinalabas na rin ng Marvel Studios ang trailer ng Ironheart. Si Ironheart ang tinitingnang spin-off ng Iron Man kung saan gumawa si Riri Williams na gaganapin ni Dominic Thorne ang kanyang sariling version ng Iron Man suit. Unang lumabas si Dominic Thorne bilang Riri Williams sa Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Sa ngayon ay wala pang inilalabas ang Marvel ukol sa storya ng Ironheart, subalit pangungunahan pa rin ni Ryan Coogler ang direksyon ng series na ito. Nakatakda itong maging isang limited 6-episode series para sa Disney Plus na mapaparood naman sa June 24.
Inilabas na po ni James Gunn at ng DC Studios ang opisyal na trailer ng Superman. Hawak na ngayon ang 4 na engineering students sa Purdue University ang Guinness World Record for fastest robot to solve a puzzle cube. Ayon sa Guinness, natalo ng Purdue students ang dating record na 305 milliseconds na naitala ng Mitsubishi Electric Engineer sa Japan noong May 2024. Gamit ang isang high-speed robotic system na tinawag ng Purdue University na Purdue Rubik's Cube, nasungkit ng apat na henyong fastest time na 103 milliseconds. Ang karaniwang bilis kasi ng kurap ng isang tao ay nasa 200 hanggang 300 milliseconds. Kaya kung susubukan mong panoorin ito, ay hindi mo na ito masusubaybayan. Kailangan pang slow motion ng video para malinaw na makita kung paanong nakumpleto ng robot ang buong puzzle.
Samut-saring mga life-size animal puppets na kinokontrol ng mga tao ang mapapanood na nagmamarcha sa iba't ibang lugar sa Central Africa. Ito ay para isulong ang climate awareness sa buong rehiyon. Ayon sa The Walk Production, ang kilusan na ito ay tinawag lang The Herds, ang ikinukonsidera ng troupe bilang largest-scale public art installation na kanilang ginawa. Nagsimula ang kanilang kilusan mula sa Democratic Republic of Congo at magpapatuloy sa Nigeria, Senegal, and Morocco. Paliwanag ni Amrinizar Suwabi, ang artistic director ng The Herds, gawa sa recycled materials ang kanilang mga puppet. Sila anya ay nagpe-perform din sa harap ng mga local communities na kanilang binibisita para ibahagi ang kanilang sentimiento na pahalagahan ang kapaligiran. Makikita sa The Herds Collection ang mga hayop katulad ng elepante, gazelle, giraffe at iba pa na isinasadula ang isang animal stampede. Inaasahang matatapos ang migration sa August 2025 sa Arctic Circle. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi, ako po muli si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito po ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Net 25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. Big development in the Ukraine situation, despite what could have been a major breakthrough. The first direct peace talks between Moscow and Kiev in 3 years. Neither U.S. President Trump nor Russian President Vladimir Putin will be attending Thursday's meeting. Instead, Russia is sending a team of experienced technocrats. This comes after Putin's offer on Sunday for negotiations in Istanbul without any preconditions. And the news starts now. In a decisive ruling today, the Court of Appeals has set aside last year's acquittal of former Senator Leila de Lima and her co-accused Ronnie Palisok Dayan in the long-running illegal drug trading case. The appellate court found that the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court erred by dismissing the charges without the clear and detailed reasoning required under the Constitution. The decision revives allegations that De Lima, who was Justice Secretary from 2010 to 2015, oversaw drug operations at New Bilibid Prison. The lower court's acquittal had rested largely on the recantation of key witness Rafael Ragos. But the Court of Appeals ruled that the trial judge never properly assessed his credibility or examined the testimony of other prosecution witnesses. By declaring the original acquittal void, the justices also determined that double jeopardy protections do not apply. With no valid prior verdict, the charges can now be retried. The case is set to return to Muntinlupa Court for fresh proceedings, where prosecutors will have another opportunity to present evidence. De Lima, a vocal critic of former President Duterte's anti-drug campaign, spent nearly 6 years detained before posting bail last year. She has consistently denied all wrongdoing, calling the charges politically motivated. The Department of Justice has yet to announce its next steps. In other news tonight, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin indicated they would not attend what could be the first direct peace talks between Moscow and Kiev in 3 years today, with the Kremlin sending instead a group of experienced technocrats. Now, to recall, Putin on Sunday proposed direct negotiations with Ukraine in Istanbul on Thursday without any preconditions. Late on Wednesday, the Kremlin said the delegation would include Presidential Advisor Vladimir Medinsky and Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin, but Putin's name was not on the list.
Но я лишь могу еще раз подтвердить.
But I can confirm once again that everything the president said in his statement on May 11th is still relevant. The Russian delegation will in fact wait for the Ukrainian delegation in Istanbul on Thursday, May 15th. That is tomorrow.
After the Kremlin's delegation announcement, a U.S. official said Trump, who is on a three-nation tour of the Middle East, would not attend. The U.S. leader had said earlier that he was considering the option to participate. While Putin had never confirmed he would attend in person, the absence of the Russian and U.S. presidents lowers the expectations for a major breakthrough in the war that Russia started in February 2022.
It is not clear if Trump will actually exercise peace through strength. It is clear that he is losing patience with Putin, and it is clear that he believes that Putin wants too much. Putin wants to destroy Ukraine as an independent state. Putin wants to push United States and NATO out of Eastern Europe all the way to the borders of '97. Putin wants Europe to take his right to the sphere of influence in Eastern Europe again seriously. None of these conditions can be met.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in Ankara for the critical talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Speaking to reporters, Zelensky expressed doubts about the authority of the Russian delegation present for the negotiations.
The level of the Russian delegation is not known officially to me, but from what we see, it looks more like it's on a decorative level. We will think about what we do next, what our next steps will be after the talks with President Erdogan. I think we will have a couple of hours for important talks, for very important decisions. We need to understand what kind of level the Russian delegation is, and what mandate they have and whether they can make any decisions. Because we all know who makes decisions in Russia.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated ahead of the NATO foreign ministers meeting in Turkey that there's no military solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
There is no military solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This war is going to end not through a military solution, but through a diplomatic one. And the sooner an agreement can be reached on ending this war, the less people will die and the less destruction there will be.
All right, let's break down a big development from yesterday. President Trump made headlines by meeting Syria's new interim leader, Abu Muhammad al-Lani. Now, this is the first time a U.S. president has sat down with a Syrian leader in 25 years. Take a look.
The meeting was actually a bit of a virtual summit with Turkey's President Erdogan and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman joining in via video conference. It all happened right before a bigger gathering of Gulf leaders in Saudi Arabia. This comes on the heels of President Trump's big announcement that the U.S. is lifting sanctions on Damascus. Remember Bashar al-Assad? Well, he was ousted back in December, and Trump's move is seen as a major shift. Here's what President Trump had to say.
There's a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade.
Under Assad, Syria was isolated. They were at odds with Israel, close to Iran and Russia, and had a rocky relationship with the West. But now, President Trump says he's changing course, lifting those tough sanctions after some serious talks with allies like Turkey and Saudi Arabia.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
Now, while in Riyadh, Trump also didn't hold back on Iran, calling them the most destructive force in the region and reiterating his vow to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon.
I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah.
Back in Syria, there were celebrations as people took to the streets, calling the end of sanctions a turning point for stability.
Today, I am not only celebrating the lifting of sanctions on Syria, our joy lies in the sincere brotherhood and the return of fervent feelings among the people of the region, its kings, princes, and presidents. President Trump thankfully responded to this love. The decision to lift the sanctions was a historic, courageous decision that alleviated the suffering of the people, helped in their renaissance, and laid the foundations for stability in the region.
So with sanctions gone and diplomacy back on the table, U.S.-Syria relations are definitely entering a new phase, but with Iran still a major concern, and questions about who's really running the show in post-Assad Syria. This is a story we'll be keeping a close eye on.
In the U.S., even though summer is still a few weeks away, people in parts of Texas are already feeling the heat in a big way, with temperatures soaring to record levels. Just yesterday afternoon, Austin hit a daily record high of 98 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that in perspective, the previous record for May 14th was 96 degrees, set way back in 2003. So what's behind this early heat wave? Well, according to Dev Niyogi, a professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences at the University of Texas at Austin, it's a combination of factors.
We are seeing some extremely hot temperatures, and these are possibly going to be record-breaking because we have not had 105 or 100 plus this early into the season for a while. But it's likely happening because we have a number of factors going in. There is a low-pressure system east of us, a low-pressure system west of us. So we have this beautiful high-pressure dome, which is giving us brilliant blue skies, but it is also a way that all the radiation, the heat is coming our way. And we have a ground surface which is dry because of the drought, and it is already heating up quite a bit. And then we have the winds coming from south, which is like having a heater turned towards you when you actually want something cooler your way. And so this combination of no clouds, a combination of really dry landscape, and the winds coming from south are making into a baking oven for this area. Now, why this is happening and whether this is going to continue being a pattern is up for research at this time. What we do know that cities are growing. What we do know that cities are going to get hotter as we have this urban heat island adding to the complexity of the heat we have. So communities and citizens will have more heat if our way of life is continuing as we have with more urbanization, and if we don't have more trees or shade and other factors helping us to mellow that part.
And it's not just numbers on a chart. People are really feeling it. Here's what some Texans had to say.
It is super hot. Yeah, it's a little early for it. You know, we usually get these temperatures in June, July, and August, not in May, beginning of May even. it's a lot.
I am used to the heat. I'm actually used to the heat from walking from the car into the mall and feeling like my flip-flops are about to melt to the asphalt.
I think climate change is something that definitely affects it. We're seeing trends and the science is backing it up, so people need to see the effects that are currently happening to us finally after all this time, and they can see what is able to help the planet and see what they can do to help this so it doesn't keep happening over and over again.
So I think it's going to continuously get warmer and warmer until we melt off the face of the earth, unfortunately. But I can't personally do anything about it. So I am at Barton Springs, cooling down.
The National Weather Service has issued an extreme weather heat warning for much of south central Texas, and that remains in effect through tonight. In western Maryland, they had some serious flooding. Roads were completely underwater. Even a firehouse in Western Port got water inside. Video from the Potomac Fire Company too showed first responders wading through flooded streets and water all over the fire station floor. Drone video showed flooded streets of Western Port. Allegheny County was one of the worst affected areas in Maryland, with the town of Western Port particularly hard hit. Officials say the Emergency Operations Center is stepping up to help out. Meanwhile, in northern Minnesota, it's still battling three big wildfires. The largest, the Jenkins Creek fire, has exploded to over 20,000 acres, while the Camp House blaze had charred nearly 12,000 acres and destroyed more than 140 buildings. And the Munger Shaw fire covers about 1,300 acres. A break in the weather is on the way, with rain expected later Wednesday and Thursday to help firefighters gain the upper hand. Up north in Manitoba, Canada, dramatic footage captured a wildfire's fury as an eyewitness drove through the flames. Now, those fires have already claimed 2 lives in the Lac du Bonnet area and forced almost 1,000 residents to evacuate, raising fears of a brutal season ahead. The issue of violence against women in Mexico has taken a particularly horrifying turn. A beauty influencer was murdered while live streaming to her followers, a crime that authorities are investigating as a femicide. We look at the details surrounding the death of Valeria Marquez and the ongoing crisis in Mexico.
A Mexican beauty influencer was shot and killed during a TikTok live stream on Tuesday. The prosecutors of Mexico's Jalisco state says 23-year-old Valeria Marquez was killed at the beauty salon where she worked in the city of Zapopan. Just seconds before, Marquez was seen live on TikTok holding a stuffed toy and saying, "They're coming." A voice then called, "Hey, Vale," meaning "Hey, okay?" which she replied yes, then muted the stream. Moments later, she was shot. Someone grabbed her phone, briefly showing their face on the live stream before it ended. The prosecutor's office did not name a suspect. Marquez had nearly 200,000 followers across Instagram and TikTok. She had said earlier on the live stream that someone came to the salon when she was not there with an expensive gift to deliver to her. She appeared concerned and said she was not planning to wait for the person to come back. The Jalisco state prosecutor said in a statement on Tuesday that her death is being investigated as femicide, the killing of women or girls based on gender. Mexico, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Bolivia share the 4th highest femicide rates in Latin America and the Caribbean, with 1.3 deaths per 100,000 women in 2023, according to the UN.
Shocking video footage has emerged from Paris showing a masked gang's audacious attempt to kidnap the daughter of a French cryptocurrency figure. The broad daylight attack was ultimately foiled by the courageous actions of a nearby shop owner armed with a fire extinguisher. Take a look.
French prosecutors are investigating after a masked gang tried to kidnap the daughter of a crypto businessman in Paris on Tuesday. The graphic video of the attack was filmed by an onlooker and widely shared on social media. It shows 3 masked men wrestling with 2 people on the ground as a getaway van idles nearby. A shop owner is seen intervening, rushing at the attackers with a fire extinguisher. After the extended physical struggle, the attackers eventually give up and drive off. The shop owner, who gave his name only as Nabil, is being hailed as a hero.
I rushed over with that object, not knowing exactly what I was going to do with it, but I feel like it ended the altercation, so I achieved my goal.
The kidnapping target was identified by local media as the daughter of the CEO of a platform for buying cryptocurrencies, who was with her partner at the time. The Paris prosecutor's office said a probe had been opened into the attempted kidnapping and would be conducted by an organized crime unit. It's at least the third violent attack targeting wealthy crypto players and their families in recent months. In January, one of the co-founders of French crypto company Ledger was kidnapped for ransom along with his wife. He lost a finger before being rescued. And in early May, the father of a French crypto player was kidnapped for ransom and was rescued by police days later, also missing a finger.
Day 3 of testimony has wrapped up in the federal trial where Sean Diddy Combs faces serious charges including racketeering and sex trafficking. Casey Ventura, the R&B singer and Combs' former girlfriend, returned to the witness stand for a second day, offering even more explicit and emotional details about their relationship and the alleged abuse she endured. Now, Ventura recounted the now infamous 2016 hotel incident, describing how a violent encounter escalated into Combs beating her as she tried to escape. Now, she told the court that the fight began during what she called a freak-off, a term for the drug and sex-fueled parties Combs allegedly orchestrated. Prosecutors presented the photos they say show the aftermath, including damage from a vase that Combs allegedly threw at her during the attack. Her testimony went further, describing how these parties eventually turned into what she called pornography shoots. Now, Ventura claimed Combs would set up video equipment to record the encounters, allegedly using the footage to intimidate and blackmail her. Here's more.
Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, was back on the stand Wednesday in his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. She told jurors in Manhattan federal court that Combs raped her in 2018 after they ended their relationship. She also said that when they were together, Combs beat her during sex parties he organized known as freak-offs, and that he threatened to ruin her career by releasing videos of her participating in them. Ventura testified that, quote, he would grab me up, push me down, hit me in the side of the head, and kick me. Earlier this week, jurors saw a 2016 surveillance video from the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel, where a towel-clad Combs threw Ventura to the ground and began to kick her. Ventura said the video was taken after a freak-off where Combs gave her a black eye. Combs has since apologized for the video, and Ventura said that he agreed to a $20 million settlement to end her civil lawsuit against him in 2023. Prosecutors on Wednesday also showed jurors 7 still photos of Ventura and various escorts that were taken from videos of the freak-offs. One juror swallowed hard upon seeing one image, and another jerked his head back. The photos were not shown to spectators or the press. Ventura, who is an R&B singer known as Cassie, spent more than a decade with Combs in a relationship she said was once loving but deteriorated. Combs has pleaded not guilty to 5 felony counts of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The current federal trial is expected to take up to 2 months, and if convicted on all counts, the Bad Boy Records founder would face a minimum 15 years in prison and could face life behind bars.
All flights in and out of one of the 2 airports serving the Belgian capital of Brussels were suspended for several hours following reports of a bomb threat on board a Ryanair flight. Now, flights were canceled after police boarded the Ryanair plane en route from Portugal to examine the bomb threat. The plane landed at Charleroi Airport and a security perimeter was set up around it while the police investigation took place. Footage broadcast by Belgian TV station RTL showed police vehicles surrounding the Ryanair plane on the tarmac while passengers were led off the aircraft and into a shuttle bus. The all clear was later given, allowing flights from Charleroi to resume. And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
Trask Construction, your trusted partner in hospital building. Trask Construction, this Sunday on Cine Throwback. A day the world will never forget. They weren't just saving a life. They were caught in history. No preparation.
Increase air volume into his lungs since we have a hole already.
No second chances. Only the truth.
Don't believe all this so-called evidence.
They saw what really happened, but the world was told something else. This Sunday, 12 noon, here on Net 25.
Let's get together, Sunday 25.
APEC warns exports in its 21-member Asia-Pacific region will grow just 0.4% this year, down from 5.7% last year, due to U.S. tariffs and trade tensions.
Trade in the Asia-Pacific will barely grow this year amid global tariff tensions. That was the warning Thursday from the 21-member Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Bloc. It predicted exports around the region would rise just 0.4% this year, compared with 5.7% last year. The group cut its growth forecast for 2025 to 2.6% from 3.3% earlier. It cited declining demand for consumer goods and other products, and rising uncertainty over what tariffs would mean for trade. The warning came at a meeting of the bloc's trade representatives on the South Korean island of Jeju. APEC Policy Support Unit Director Carlos Kuriyama spoke to the media.
Higher tariffs, retaliatory measures, suspension or elimination of benefits or procedures facilitating trade. We have heard about an increase of non-tariff measures affecting trade. And all of this, unfortunately, is not helping business, because what they are doing is to add unprecedented levels of policy uncertainty. This is also eroding investors' confidence, weakening demand.
However, investors were offered a glimmer of hope by one encounter on the sidelines of the event. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer reportedly met his Chinese counterpart. That raised hopes of more progress, coming just days after the pair agreed to slash tariffs during talks in Switzerland. Over the next 2 days, APEC members will discuss issues including possible reform of the World Trade Organization. The Trump administration views the WTO as guilty of enabling China to gain an unfair advantage in trade. Washington has recently moved to pause funding for the organization as a result.
All right, so picture this: President Macron, German Chancellor Merz, and British Prime Minister Starmer, all on a train heading to Kiev. Sounds like the start of a political thriller, right? Well, it's turned into a bit of a social media circus. A video surfaced and it's sparking some wild accusations.
See that crumpled white thing? Some folks online are claiming it's a bag of cocaine. Seriously, and this rumor even got the attention of Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova. As in the joke, a Frenchman, an Englishman, and a German boarded the train and got high. Apparently so much so that they forgot to remove the accessories, a bag and a spoon, before the arrival of the journalists. But Macron's office is hitting back hard, calling it fake news. They say it's a tissue for blowing your nose. They're accusing France's enemies both at home and abroad of spreading this disinformation. When European unity becomes inconvenient, disinformation goes so far as to make a simple tissue look like drugs. They're also warning everyone to stay vigilant against manipulation. And Germany's weighing in too, calling the claim absurd. They're backing up the tissue story, saying it's just that, a tissue. They also added that many are trying to influence opinions and that enemies of democracy are trying to weaken unity. Now, this whole thing comes as France is stepping up its fight against online rumors, especially those linked to Russia. They're also worried about American alt-right influence. The French foreign minister even said their public debate is being bombarded with Russian propaganda. So a tissue turns into a drug scandal, and it's a perfect example of the online information war we're dealing with. The question is, who do you believe?
Now get ready for some seriously small but mighty innovation out of MIT. Engineers there have just unveiled a hopping robot that's no bigger than your thumb, but don't let its size fool you. This tiny titan can
robot that's payload's weight. This hopping device recycle energy, connecting energy to potential energy and back again. That means we only need a small amount of thrust to carry a significantly heavier payload. This extra payload capacity allowed us to potentially implement sensor, battery, and power electronics on board.
Tom Cruise brought his megawatt charm to the Cannes Film Festival. Now everyone was buzzing because this might just be the last time we see Tom Cruise in the franchise. Ever the superstar, Tom spent time greeting fans who had been soaking up the sun for hours just to catch a glimpse of him. Then he joined his awesome Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning co-stars, the fantastic Haley Atwell, Pom Clementif, Greg Tarzan Davis, Angela Bassett, Isai Morales, and Hannah Waddingham. They were all smiles, posing for photos and even snapping some selfies before heading into the beautifully red Grand Lumiere Theater. And guess who else graced the Cannes premiere? The amazing Zoe Saldana, the radiant Eva Longoria, the always stylish Andy McDowell in a cool suit, and even Cannes jury member Halle Berry. What a star-studded night. Now, a quick NBA update. The Minnesota Timberwolves are heading to the Western Conference Finals after beating the Golden State Warriors 121-110 in Game 5. Now, Julius Randle led the way with 29 points, and Anthony Edwards had 22 points and 12 assists. The Warriors, without the injured Stephen Curry, were led by Brandon Podziemski, 28 points. Minnesota now waits for the winner of the Thunder Nuggets series.
Yeah, I mean, we know what our recipe for success is. You know, we know what that means for us. You know, coming into the playoffs, our team talked a lot about the selflessness that was needed for it to be able to be anybody's night, and that every series is different, every night is going to be different, and just stay ready. You know, Dante was huge for us tonight, big spark off the bench. You know, we just talked about the balance with our veterans. In particular, Rudy had, you know, probably his most impactful offensive night tonight. But those guys kept guarding, and they kept doing everything else, even when the ball wasn't coming their way, and you know, shots were not falling, or they were not getting shots. So, you know, that's like all credit to our guys. You know, they made this a point of emphasis. This is what we had to have. So.
Yeah, I just try to do my best to read the game the best way I can. They threw different coverages at us, you know, all series long, and our ability to adjust on the fly and, you know, do what the game was, you know, calling for us to do as, you know, everybody on the team, each individual, it was good. So, you know, whenever we need a basket, you know, Coach puts me in great spots to do that. And if he needs me to play make, he puts me in great spots to do that as well. So, you know, it's whatever the team needs in the moment.
Well, first of all, congrats to the Wolves. They were fantastic. You know, had a great series, beating us 4 games straight after that first one.
Well, I think a lot of it was the things that we could control that we weren't controlling. Big emphasis was taken away the three-point line. They shot a good percentage, and I think made maybe 6 or 8 at halftime. And so if we just took those away, especially for the role guys, Conley, DiVincenzo, McDaniels, take away those kind of things early for them, it puts a, not a timidness in their mind, but as the game gets closer and the game gets later in the game, those shots that didn't go in early, maybe they're hesitant to shoot them, or they're rushing them because they want to make them.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.